making the allocation based on 10/11/88. But the final distribution of funds is going to be based on this year, so 11/12. So my projection here is not the same number that the state is talking about, because we know that we have less ADA. So I'm doing this based on what our projected P2 ADA is, which will be our final funding. Okay? And then what I did was, so basically column F gives you the allocation for your district if we were sending it out all by ADA, with the exception of the $1,726,000 for the residential piece. And that's what we're reflecting going to the south, because we're already in the process of doing that. That's what we did last year, and we're kind of continuing that until we get different, if we get different kind of direction. So then the next section here, this is the adjusted allocation by district. Does everyone kind of see that? One thing that I didn't mention, column G. This is the other prop. This is the Prop 63 money. That's the DBH dollars that are going to DBH. What Joan was just talking about. We were told that our first projection, I used to do a dollar amount in it because we had no idea what it was, and I only put 25,000 because we didn't know what it was going to be. It was a placeholder kind of. The last word we got was 313,000. Now, Joan, I don't know with the change in your latest discussion with the MOU changing and stuff, is the dollar amount staying the same at this point?
Yes.
Do we know? Okay.
From the previous MOU, yes.
Okay.
But this is also one time, is it not?
This is one time.
This is just now.
Correct. So this 313,000, I'm actually not showing any kind of funding distribution for that right now, because it's not coming directly to us. We can use, well, once the MOU is finalized, we'll have clear direction as to what we can use those funds for, because we're going to get reimbursed by them. So dollars aren't coming to us.
Yeah.
as
And
an
I do
allocation.
have a general idea of how it will be used. There are community mental health providers who are vendored through Department of Behavioral Health, Pacific Clinics, and West End Family Counseling here. They have what are called EPSDT, or full scope Medi-Cal billing for students through Department of Behavioral Health. And so last year when we were in a bind, we, rather than hire additional counselors, we did refer out some students to those programs, and either we're paying an hourly fee for kids who don't have Medi-Cal, or we're paying the Medi-Cal rates, and the part of that money would be to put up the match, which this year is about 10 cents, to get the dollar of Medi-Cal funding. So, you know, you get 90 cents of service for 10 cents, or you get $1 worth of service for 10 cents, really. So, I don't know, there seems to be some changes here with Medi-Cal funding. I think you probably all read that, you know, there was a 10% decrease from the state, from the federal level. So I don't know if that dollar amount will stay the same. Also, there's been a cap put on how much money these each county can have in their contract. So those were some of the things that were causing DBH to have some issues to address. Other than that, and right now we only have a very small number of students being seen by these clinics. And this funding, as Janet said, isn't ongoing. So at some point we probably would either need to look at another mechanism for funding those students, or bring them back into providing direct services ourselves. So the other part of that money can be used to pay for the residential mental health costs for out-of-state kids if they're billed separately. And we were thinking that would be the biggest portion of our money. DBH kind of said, oh no, we're going to use it for match unless there's any left, and we'll just pay that if there's still money in the pot. So we're going to continue to work with them. We did introduce wrap services, and whether or not, because that's considered residential by DBH, whether or not we could pay for those, and there's a bit of a split between the two people in DBH as to that answer. so Mike Schertel said yes. Jim Haugen said, no, I don't think you can pay for all of those, maybe some of it. So we're going to have a subsequent meeting just to address RAP, and some of you may want to come to that meeting, particularly if you're at the high school level, because those are services that we use to keep kids out of residential treatment. The services are provided in the family home.
I'm thinking, I don't know, is there anyone who'd like a clarification of what RAP means?
We don't have a clue.
Pardon?
We don't have a clue.
So,
I don't know that we have a clue. This is like this big mystery at the state level.
But just a simple view of what RAP includes for kids. Because
Well,
we're using a program where...
The way DBH has used RAP in the past, it includes anything the family identifies as necessary to maintain that child in the home. So if they need gas money so the kid could go to counseling services, they gave them gas money. They bought one of my families a car. I mean, it was a used car, but still. And so these were kind of, part of this discussion is, those are not things that are educationally necessary expenses. Plus, if you bought one of your parents a car just to get the kid to school, I think you'd be facing a claim of misuse of public funds.
But John, didn't it also include the concept of treating the whole family in the home setting?
Right,
So
it's trying to work from the strengths of the family, and so, you know, they want to keep the child in the home, so they may come to the home first thing in the morning, get the child up so that they're able to get to school. They may come in the afternoon and help with the parent with what they would call behavior mod. We would probably call it, in more layman's term, discipline, so that, you know, you can have the child comply and not walk out of the house and stay out after curfew. They do have family meetings on a regular basis to help, you know, and the entire family is involved. So there may be another student that you have that's, you know, not even getting these services directly, but, you know, that it's, you know, that the whole family is supported in that.
So instead of just dealing with the child, they're wrapping around the whole family with services. So.
It could, I mean, in theory, I think it can be a very effective way to keep kids out of residential or assist in returning them back to their homes. I mean, we've literally had meetings where the child is graduating from school and the family says, you know, the kid's been gone 3 years, and the family just says, we're not taking her back. So, you know, once you take a child out of the family, it is really hard to reunite that family and make it work.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on with this. If you look at column F basically is the same as column H. So now I'm going to take a look at the adjusted allocations by district. So the first one, column I, is self-accounting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this, the front sheet, and then I'll go through the back sheets relatively quickly after that, so you can determine how I got the data there. So basically, the next is the self-accounting. This is for our counselors and you know, their mileage and just to operate the program. That's basically just for counseling services. So that's $1,356,000 that would go to the SELPA. So that would be a deduct to the revenue that would be allocated to the district. Then we have column J is the SELPA regional service / administrative support for residential. So that's actually not, the RS is residential, it's not regional services, it's residential, sorry. Change this.
Catalina, is this actuals?
I'll go through that and show you what we did on the back.
And does it include indirect?
I'll go through those. Yes,
And
and kind of no.
Once we do the concept, I think we can go through the individual changes and discuss which ones you agree with, and then the concept, the numbers would just be readjusted based
So
on
we'll
that.
hold our questions.
Yeah, hold them for a little bit. This is
Write it
kind of
down.
just the concept for right now. So column J is that residential administrative support here at the stop. Column K is the anticipated facility expense if in fact we can get approval to get a leased facility. Column L is the contracted counseling with West End families. So those are the costs based on actual usage projected projected out for the year. So then column M, it's taken your column H, which was your revenue distribution, basically deducting those 4 categories, and then your piece would be what's in column M. You go over to column N, as in Nancy, the federal money, we had talked about this previously, which is what we did last year with the federal money. It went directly to the WESELPA for us to pay for those residential costs for students. So we think that it would be in our best interest to go ahead and continue doing that, and we're spending that right now. So I've got budgets set up for the federal money right now. So that $728,000 is going to the WESELPA for federal money. And then the rest of the 6512 money, which is special ed money that's dedicated specifically for mental health. It's not overall special ed, it's mental health only. And you can see that would be your distribution of funds. So you'll see the WESELPA in this allocation, it's showing the WESELPA receiving $2,755,000 in state money, and that's to offset the residential, the self-counseling, all of these that we've included here. So that's all of it in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions and just kind of the numbers and how they're working there?
Now, the federal, let me just clarify, the federal is not staff, it's reimbursed, it's paying the residential costs?
It's paying the residential costs only this time, yes.
Because of the difficulty of billing for staff and having to split bill,
Documented in terms
Right.
of the,
we're just going to, the best use was residential invoices.
Okay, let's go move to the next page real quickly. And this is a draft, all this is a draft, is a summary, kind of a temporary budget, what I think my budget's going to look like for my counseling, for our counseling. And this is the state apportionment, so basically this is the how much we're getting for the fee-for-service, which I have that broken down in the back for you also, interest. But basically your certificated salary and benefits I have lumped together, and I have lumped together the classified salary and benefits. I'll go over that again, it's a sheet behind this, so you can see exactly where those numbers are coming from. And then what I did was I went ahead and I adjusted our current fee-for-service, which the majority of that fee-for-service is counseling. I made some adjustments to what I anticipate some of those changes might be. The biggest change probably there was data processing, because we're having additional staff come on with eventually full network user capability. Some of them don't have that right now, and part of that's an issue for us. So I've made the adjustments to reflect full users for all of our counseling staff. So that's basically our budget for the counseling budget. If you go to the next page, which this page is basically right out of our fee-for-service, but I made some adjustments to that. This is reflective of column I, that's where I'm kind of getting the revenue from. And what I did was I used our final 10-11 fee-for-service for counseling. I increased it by 25%. Joan just talked about the increase in all of the referrals that we're having. So 25% was what I used, was a projection that I used for this funding. So you can take a look at that. So all you need to look at really here is just the mental, I'm sorry, where it says individual counseling services, the $1,356,000 at the very bottom. So if you go to like the bottom of where table 4 is, see that? So that's actually the fee-for-service for your counseling increased by 25% at the current rates that we are right now. So that's how I got the information as to what revenue I would anticipate if this was a flat-out fee-for-service. Okay? Any questions on that piece? Okay, and go to the next piece, which is the self-counseling staff. This is how I was shared earlier on the little budget that I had certificated and benefits and classified benefits. This is where I'm getting the information from. These are actual salaries and benefits, and I've identified position numbers so you know which ones are actually positions I've identified, if you go down to the second section where we have 3 employees, you see Tracy